Very good evening. You're watching NewsX with me, Rishika Baru. On to the big story we're tracking for you in this bulletin. The Maharashtra ATS policy to online radicalization is building confidence in Muslim communities as the agency has successfully de-radicalized around 110 youths in the past 2 years. This, of course, has been done through various strategies and methodologies, including counseling. The Maharashtra ATS has prevented at least 110 youths from joining the terror outfit ISIS. Majority of these youths were college students, some of them pursuing higher education and some were working professionals.
मैं फेसबुक पे ये सब सर्च करने लग गया। फेसबुक पे काफी सारे वीडियोस आते थे सीरिया के बारे में, तो मैं एक दो लोगों को उसमें से फ्रेंड रिक्वेस्ट भेजा तो ताकि मुझे न्यूज मिले कि क्या हो रहा है वहाँ पे। ठीक है, तो बाद में मुझे एक लड़की ने अप्रोच किया। हाँ, उसने मुझे कहा कि आई एम कन्वर्टेड एंड मेरा यहाँ पे कोई साथ नहीं देता। शी वॉज अ फॉरेनर, वो बाहर की लड़की थी और अपना उसने मुझे ब्लैकमेल किया।
They approach him through Facebook and their manipulation is quite worst. Means the child is willing to work for the religion beside his family. Means he have no feeling for his family. Their manipulation is totally different. Now he's quite well, he's stable now. I feel quite good that ATS is doing good job.
And my colleague Faizan is joining us live on the broadcast with more details. Faizan, what more details can you tell us about this big story? It does appear that there have been a slew of methods, that have been employed by the ATS to identify these youths and also to de-radicalize them.
Yeah, well, that's right. In the recent past, we have seen in Mumbai and across the Maharashtra how the number of cases of the ISIS sympathizers have been reported. And accordingly, the Maharashtra ATS in 2016 started this initiative of de-radicalizing the youth who have been radicalized by the ISIS handlers on the social media. You see the interviews that we have managed to get for the first time on TV. These are the youths who have been radicalized by the ISIS on the name of religion, and they're having the various modus operandi. But the Maharashtra ATS somewhere feels that if you want to give a counter attack to the ISIS, and this is the best option, and somewhere successfully Maharashtra ATS in past 2 years have de-radicalized around 110 youths. So what Maharashtra ATS basically do after de-radicalizing this sympathizers of the ISIS on the social media, they keep close tab on them 24/7. In fact, on this the numbers which we are running on our television, that around 110 people have been de-radicalized. Maharashtra officers team continuously keep tab on every suspect even after the de-radicalizing process, which takes around 3 to 4 months. So what happened in that particular case, we have seen the similar cases have been reported in Malvani, where the few youths have gone to this Iraq and Syria to join ISIS, and some from Kalyan, and there was one case of this is the government-run initiative that the Maharashtra ATS have started in 2016, and you now see the success rate in 2 years, around 110 youths. These are the youths who are these are the college-going youths, and some are the working professionals, and they are completely very active on the social media. So this is how Maharashtra ATS keeps a very close tab when they see some suspicious activity on the social media sites, especially on the Facebook, WhatsApp, and other social apps that we managed to get from the the ATS sources. What are the social media sites where the ISIS sympathizers, ISIS handlers are very active, and this is their in fact job to recruit people on the social media as much as they can.
Right.
The luring them on the name of religion, on honey trap, and providing them a huge amount of money. So this is how the Maharashtra ATS feels. In fact, at the taking some stringent legal action against them when they are at the primary stage. They believe in de-radicalizing them, and successfully they have de-radicalized around 110 youths, and this is a successful rate. You see around 110 youths college-going students and the working professionals have been de-radicalized by the Maharashtra ATS in the
Right.
past 2 years. And there is another possibility. What we believe that what is the guarantee that if the person who has been de-radicalized and he is a sympathizer of the ISIS, what is the guarantee that he will not do such kind of activities yet again on the social media and he will not go and join the ISIS? So the ATS, this is why ATS, you see, they keep close tab on that particular person even after de-radicalizing process, which has a number of stages. First, ATS try to take the family into the confidence, trying to win the confidence of the family first, and then second, taking him to the religious leader to make them
Right.
understand what exactly religion means, what exactly Islam means. Then, if requires, ATS take them to the psychiatrist, and also at the last stage, the ATS officers themselves are involved in this, the counseling process to de-radicalize that particular youth who's been radicalized by the ISIS handlers on the social media site.
Well, that's an interesting, perspective that you've lent to this entire story. Faizan has basically broken it down for us as to how exactly, does the ATS identify these youths, and then what exactly is the process of de-radicalization that is followed. Stay on with us, Faizan, because Maharashtra ATS, I beg your pardon, has exclusively spoken to NewsX. They've shared this entire process of de-radicalization. Okay, before we listen into what this de-radicalization protest is, Prakash Singh is joining us on the phone line. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. What do you make of the fact that here is a very, very serious effort that has been made by the Maharashtra ATS to not just identify but also to de-radicalize these youth who are susceptible to pressures from the ISIS, especially to online radicalization. They've got a slew of methods that they've put into practice, including, of course, counseling. What do you make, of the developments that in 2 years, 110 youths have in fact been de-radicalized?
No, this effort by the Maharashtra ATS, I think it's very laudable, and I must compliment them for being conscious of whatever efforts they made and the success they have achieved. It's absolutely fantastic if they have been able to achieve it. I do not know what precisely were the details of the de-radicalization program that they followed. But the Home Ministry has been talking about de-radicalization programs, and it's good that Maharashtra has taken initiative in the matter. Actually, this kind of program needs to be followed up in several other states. I mean, J&K, of course, is number one, where radicalization is a huge problem, and now and then we hear that somebody who is an engineer or a graduate or studying somewhere, or a simple youth from the village, suddenly he joins the Hizbul Mujahideen or some other terrorist outfit. So in Kashmir, it's a major problem, and in several other states, I would say Assam also is a big problem. So this is a big problem confronting us, and we have to tackle it. And the Home Ministry did issue some guidelines in the past, and I hope if the state police follow them. And
but Mr. Singh, if I could just ask you, while we've of course broken down the details of what that de-radicalization process is, etc., this story also points to very interestingly so is that all of these youth, the 110 youth who the ATS claims have been de-radicalized, identified and de-radicalized over the past 2 years, they are either in college or they are working professionals. So there is a high level of education attached to these, to these youth who are in fact susceptible to these kind of, radical elements.
Yes, this is true. Actually, these boys are getting radicalized because of the enormous amount of online propaganda, which is being conducted by extremist wings, by ISIS, Islamic State people, and other terrorist outfits. So it is this online propaganda which attracts the educated boys in different parts of the country.
Yes.
So we have to, while we are tackling them on the ground, I think steps need to be taken that this online propaganda, if somehow we could neutralize this attack on the internet, that also needs to be done. You see, on the internet there is so much of mischief available, which is hurting the country. I think government needs to launch some kind of a cyber counter-attack
Yes.
to neutralize these attempts.
All right, Prakash Singh, appreciate you for joining us on the broadcast with that perspective. Prakash Singh, of course, lauding the efforts made by the Maharashtra ATS for the de-radicalization process that has been carried out, saying that it is something that should be used as a model and replicated in various other states, including Jammu and Kashmir, and also Prakash Singh there shedding light on the fact that it is in fact the educated youth that is susceptible to these kind of pressures, and perhaps slightly more stringent cyber laws need to be enacted to protect them from this kind of radicalization online. Let's take a quick listen in to what the Maharashtra ATS has said. They've spoken exclusively to NewsX. They've shared the entire process of de-radicalization. Let's listen in to how they did it.
So the question to you, in fact, we have seen how, because of the use of the social media, how the youngsters, they're getting attracted to that terror organizations and the fundamentalist organization. And we have seen that successfully Maharashtra ATS, have de-radicalized more than 100 youths. How, in fact, the ATS have made it possible? If you can give us a brief on that.
In recent past, we have seen that there is a huge, extensive use of internet. So many youngsters are attracted towards the use of social media and internet. During that process, so many youngsters found that they got attracted towards the fundamentalist outfits. During that process, ATS has taken a stand that instead of doing stringent legal action against such type of youngsters, we have started the process of counseling of that youngsters. And during such process, in last 2 years, we have successfully done the counseling of more than 100 such type of youths, and it was very successful. And parents and religious leaders are also very crucial for such type of counseling process of that youngsters.
So if you can tell us in detail the process, how we actually, de-radicalize when you keep monitoring such kind of suspicious activities, especially on the social media. So once we get to know that particular person is involved in such kind of, that's getting attracted to that, especially we have seen how the ISIS is trying to, influence the youths on the name of religion. So how we manage to do that, and what is the step process, who all are actually involved in this counseling of the de-radicalization?
We are getting inputs from the human intelligence as well as cyberspace that such and such youth is attracted towards such type of ideology. Many times parents also coming to us that they are observing some changes in the behavior pattern of the youngster. During that process, we approached the religious leader of that particular community. Then we approached the psychiatrist of that our police sources, and with the counseling of a religious leader and psychiatrist and parents, with the help of all three key elements, we do the counseling of that particular youth. And after the counseling of that youth, if we found that after particular brainstorming of that youth, we found that if we found that main youngster comes back to the mainstream, then we think that he is out of that clutches of that ideology, and he is in the mainstream, then we stop that.
So in fact, I was coming to that. When we see that the person and that particular individual youth is back to the mainstream, then what after that? How ATS keeps monitoring, because we have learned 24/7 the ATS officers are monitoring that particular person and their family. How we do that?
We keep monitoring on such type of youth also. We try to rehabilitate that person through the vocational training, then through giving some opportunity to the job, giving opportunity in the education, so that they will not think about that fundamentalist ideology. They will not again go to that ideology. We take care of that, and we are successfully doing with the help of that our ATS officers and men who are keeping tab on that youngsters.
How difficult this is for the ATS officials, to de-radicalize, because what we believe that the way they have been radicalized, especially on the social media. So how difficult this for the ATS team? In fact, we have seen that successfully we have done more than 100 youths been de-radicalized in the past 2 years, and also the kind of faith and trust that we have developed in the parents of that particular community. They are approaching from to the ATS that there is children, if they see such kind of the changes in their behavior and their body languages. So how we managed to do that, and why we think that this is a counter attack on the ISIS kind of terror organization, and instead of taking that legal action against that particular youth, we believe in de-radicalizing and bringing back to them in the mainstream.
Yes, it is of course it is a challenging job to us because we are new to that field, but for that purpose we are conducting in-service training for our officers and men so that they will actively.
In past 2 years, Maharashtra ATS have prevented around 110 youths from joining terror organizations like ISIS, Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. Majority of these youths are college-going students. Some of them are pursuing higher education and some are working professionals. Remember, Maharashtra ATS has not only prevented them from joining the terror organization, but also it helps thwarting the anti-national activities in the country. And what we believe that the Maharashtra ATS have started this initiative, which is a government-run initiative, as the major number of cases have reported in the state, where the number of sympathizers have been arrested in the state by the various agencies, including the NIA and the other state police as well. In past 2 years, Maharashtra ATS have successfully de-radicalized through a counseling. What we believe that Maharashtra ATS keeps a very close tab on the social media site as what one is doing. Once they find some suspicious activities, they reach out to that particular person and they start their counseling process.
That, of course, was an exclusive report filed by my colleague Faizan. Appreciate you, Faizan, for joining us on the broadcast with the details of that.